Welcome to Ready, Set, Collaborate podcast with Wanda Pearson, where we will dive deep into the world of networking, collaboration, and partnership, unlocking the secrets to a successful team working within innovation. Whether you're an entrepreneur, a creative, professional, or just someone eager to understand the power of networking and collaboration, this podcast is your go-to resource. Join us as we explore the stories, strategies, and insights from experts, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders who have experienced the magic of networking and collaboration to achieve successful results. Tune in to Ready, Set, Collaborate podcast on a journey towards achieving your goals with host Wanda Pearson.
Welcome to the Ready, Set, Collaborate podcast with Wanda Pearson. I am so excited to have my guest here, Tamara Lewis from St. Louis.
That's me.
Yes, I'm so excited to have her here. And I wanted to start this, actually not start off at the end of the month with Breast Cancer Awareness Month, because October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And who is better to be my guest but Tamara, because she's been through it all and she's such an inspiration to actually help people to get to have those tips that she can share with us. But Tamara, tell us a little bit about yourself, and I'm going to talk about your bio, but just you tell us a little bit about you, and then I'm going to read your bio.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, thank you, Miss Wanda, for reaching out to me and trusting me with this message, of course, to increase the awareness of breast cancer. And so a little bit about my background. My background is actually healthcare. A lot of people don't know that's how I started. My first grant as a health educator was the Breast and Cervical Cancer Project. So it's amazing. It's not amazing. It's all divine, right? How life comes back kind of full circle. Did that, went into pharmaceutical sales for a little while and then left pharmaceuticals and went into finance. So I'm a broker now. I have two beautiful young ladies that we are raising to become women. And my passion has always been women's empowerment. When I got diagnosed in 2018, of course, nobody ever thinks it's going to happen to them because I have girlfriends who say, look, if you can get breast cancer, anybody can get breast cancer. And at first, when I remember my first girlfriend told me that, I was like, oh, that's odd for somebody to say. But I said, but you know what? Now that's my purpose, because now people who think that they're immune, they've seen me, they see me run races. They're like, you're probably the healthiest person we know. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's just part of my journey, is that I ran a 10K literally 30 days before I got diagnosed, right? In my tip top shape at 44, and which surprisingly is not that old. Because when I went through all my processes, I was actually the youngest person at that time. Yeah. But my mentee, she got diagnosed at 28. Wow. I think a lot of women think that they're immune because we're not old. Okay, no, breast cancer has no race, no age, no creed, any of that. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
I appreciate that short stuff, because actually it's funny, and I'm going to get to your bio. My mother actually got breast cancer. This is my stepmother. But she got breast cancer. Her doctor told her to make sure your daughter go and get a mammogram. His daughter got it at 25 years old. So wow. I actually started getting breast mammograms since I was in my 20s. And I get it every year. I don't care. I just get it every year. And I tell my daughters the same thing. You got to go get tested, because you just never know. Now they have such better equipment to do the mammograms, because after they found out I had a cyst, thank God it was not malignant, but it was a cyst. But they had to go through that, but they only found out through the 3D.
Exactly.
So that was good. But I don't want to waste it. I'm going to talk about your bio, girl. Let's let people know all what you've been doing here. So Tammy Lewis from St. Louis. I know Tammy Lewis from St. Louis, and I'm from Chicago, so we're from the Midwesterners here, right?
That's right.
Because NPH RVP is a regional vice president at Primerica, founder of Pink Pearl Hero, and creator of One Dope Planner. I have that. After a 12-year career in pharmaceuticals, she transitioned her career to finance and entrepreneurship to help others achieve financial success. Following the breast cancer diagnosis in 2018, she launched the Pink Pearl Hero to increase the awareness of breast cancer, promote self-care and women's empowerment, and develop One Dope Planner to enhance productivity. Tammy is also a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. I didn't know that. There's something I'm learning more about you than what you did here. But thank you so much, Tammy. I'm calling Tammy. That's why I know you're as Tammy or Tammy.
That's what I go by.
Yeah, thank you so much for being on this because you have such a wealth of knowledge and inspiration that you can actually help us do this here. So let me ask you a question about your experience. Can you share your personal journey with breast cancer? And I think you already said something about it and how it has impacted your life.
Yeah, so I call my breast cancer journey my Jonah moment. And it didn't start like that though. And I always tell people, look, I ran a 10K. I was actually checking off my bucket list. And here's why the 10K is important, is that was actually my therapy and my gauge through this whole process. Because anytime I had a surgery, I was always like, when can I get back on the trails? When can I start running again? Not knowing that would be my therapy through the process. So ran a 10K. I thought it was a 5K. That's a different story. But that's where it started triggering the mindset. Because when I realized literally 30 days before the Peachtree that it was a 10K and not a 5K, in my mind, I said, okay, Tammy, it's only 3 more miles. Just figure it out. It's just 3 more miles. And I did. And I actually did pretty good considering my first time.
Yeah.
And then I get diagnosed 30 days later. And when I got the official diagnosis, because I went for my mammogram, and this was my second visit to my well woman exam because I missed the first one because I was so busy and I got there late. I almost missed the second one because of the same thing. And I share that because we as women, if we're not our own heroes and take care of ourselves first, because everybody knows when mama goes down, the ship goes down. But for some reason, we don't understand or we don't correlate when we're on a plane. It says if the plane is going down, you put your mask on first and then you put everybody else's on. But in life, it doesn't cross. For some reason, it doesn't. So I almost missed it. So my lump was found at my woman exam. Wow. That's why they're so important. And it was a big one. It was sitting right underneath the left breast. And my midwife, she was like, "You never had a mammogram. You're actually late. So let's go ahead and get this baseline." The baseline in 24 hours turned into, we found something, we want to look some more. And the ultrasounds, the biopsies. And when we got the final diagnosis, and I actually knew before my doctor told me because it was the one test result I couldn't see because she had it locked. And when I went to go see my breast surgeon, and she told me, she said, my recommendation is a left breast mastectomy. And I said, why are we messing around with this thing? Let's do both. And we gonna do this guns a-blazing. And I just remember saying, Lord, why me?
Yeah.
Oops.
It's okay. It's okay. You
I think,
survived, girl. You survived.
I think when we walk through life, most of us walk in man's world. And I'm not talking about gender, man. I'm talking about man's world. And when I was like, Lord, why me? I did everything right. I went to school, got the education, got married, then I had kids. But then I had to realize that's man's, not God's will. And as soon as that came into my spirit, I said, you know what? I said, something big is about to happen. And let's go. I said, and in that process, I'm going to meet some phenomenal women and we're going to lock arms and do some phenomenal things. And that's when my whole mindset started shifting on this whole process. Literally, probably a day after I got home from the surgery. So they did both of my surgeries. So they did the reconstruction and the double mastectomy at the same time. So it was a 6-hour surgery. Wow. Once I got home, my mentor called me and she said, hey, Sugar, I need you to read this book for me. And it's called Jonah by Priscilla Schreier. It's Jonah something, but it's by Priscilla Schreier. And it basically was talking about how sometimes in life, God has to sit you down for your next journey. And that's, again, was another mindset reshift. I'm like, okay, so this is just my Jonah moment. The Lord, you ain't listening. And I know you better than you. And this is the only way I can get your attention.
Yeah.
And because of breast cancer, that's why I started Pink Pearl Hero. That's why I started really researching why women don't have the wealth that we should have.
Mhm.
And that's also where the one door planner came in. None of that was in the vision before breast cancer.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, go
Yeah.
ahead. I'm sorry.
No, and God out, and my favorite verse of when I retired from my IBM was Jeremiah. God has a plan for you.
Yeah.
Plans to prosper you. You just never know. It didn't stop when I left IBM. It didn't stop there, but He has a plan for you. Even though we say, no, that's not going to happen to me, but it does. But you have a purpose, Tammy, to be able to share what you just shared emotionally, because a lot of people can't deal with it, and that's what the strength that you bring to other women to be able to help them during this difficult time. And I wanted to ask you this question too. So that was unexpected moments of your life, and you got the strength and you got the support that helped you get through these tough times. And you
Yes.
did. But how did your perspective on life change after your experience with breast cancer?
So one, I enjoy the moment. And I am a lot of people when they see me in the business mode, but I'm like, if it ain't fun, I'm done. I'm gonna have fun.
Right.
I'm gonna experience life, I'm gonna experience people. So my perspective on life and people sometimes folks see me from the outside and they're like, you're always so busy. And I'm like, no, I'm catching up and collapsing time frames because
Mhm.
there's some other things that I want to do in life. So you may see it as me being busy, but
Yeah.
everything I do is intentional now. And I think intentionality has been the biggest thing. And then I just really now I understand my purpose that I'm walking in purpose. One of the things that and it's just like a lot of things in life, I'm like, "Oh, okay, that makes sense, God. That's why you had me do that because I needed to do this."
Yeah.
So everything is now coming into alignment where I understand why I went through, like me saying went through, but it was
Right.
all part of the process. The
Mhm.
biggest thing that really helped me as I was going through that, and I always say growing through it now, instead of going through it, I was growing through it.
Mhm.
Even though my body was physically in 2018, my mind was in 2019.
Mhm.
So everything I was doing was to impact 2019,
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
though I physically had to go through things. So
Yes, yeah, and that's so true. But you're going through the future, you're thinking ahead of
yeah,
what can happen. So,
yeah,
what advice would you give to someone who had just been diagnosed with breast cancer?
yeah. One is the first thing. Here is the first thing. The first thing is to get back into the word because you're going to need a very strong faith
Yes.
because you're going to have to make decisions and you're going to need discernment in that process.
Hmm.
And you're going to need discernment and you're going to need people around you. Everybody around you is not going to have your best interest. And you
Hmm.
got to be able to discern that. So that's why I said first get into your word.
Yeah.
Look, start from Genesis. I'm on
Mhm.
First Samuel right now. I started
Mhm.
all over. I was like, oh my God, this was in the Bible.
Yeah.
Now, what does that have to do with breast cancer? It has to do with the faith part of
Yeah.
it.
Yes.
We just got back and we did the Sister Strut in St. Louis, our Pink Pearl Hero team, which is for breast cancer awareness. And I met a newly diagnosed breast cancer survivor. And the first thing I told her was because she was talking about her faith. And I said, do me a favor. I said, take a moment and find out what he's really trying to tell you
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
he's pausing you for a purpose. But do you know what the pause is for? And she looked at me and look, the crazy thing, Miss Wanda, is I shocked myself too. I was like, I really say that.
Yeah, God, that's what God had you say to her
Yes.
that moment.
Yep.
You just never know when He's going to come out and just put those words in your mouth to help somebody. And it's about tough love too, about thinking about yourself. And no, and I'm glad you did do that. So, and you are, I am so proud of you. I really
Thank
am
you.
because I met you in 2018. Yeah, that's when I met you in 2018. Then you told us about your journey, and it's just so great to hear someone like you, and especially you're right. You got to have your faith in order. You got because that's what's going to help you get through those tough times. Some people may say, "Oh, I don't believe in God. I don't believe yet," but God got you here, and you never know what plans He has for you, and He already know what plans He has for you. But you got to go through that journey and make those mistakes and get through it. And my brother told me this: you got to go through what you're going through to understand why you're going through it. And I had to
Yeah.
keep saying he preached about that, and I never forgot that because I said, "Why am I going? Don't ask why. Just ask God, help me, Lord, help me, Lord." So, I am so proud of you, what you're doing. Yeah, so yeah, I was going to ask you about the coping strategies that you find most helpful when dealing with the emotional and physical toll of treatment. What kind of coping strategies did you deal with?
One part, of course, was my faith. That was first. The second thing was running. That was my biggest coping strategy because I knew I was back. Now, I wasn't running, but 2 weeks after surgery, I walked to the trail. That was my mindset of if I can't walk to this trail, then I'm not progressing. Now, like I said, I ain't run. I ain't even do a fast walk. I just literally walked to the trail and walked right back because our home is right by the trail. And that just let me know mindset wise, okay, you're going in the right direction. Every surgery though, I was telling my plastic surgeon, so when can I start running again? He was like, can you give me like a couple weeks? We just did a major surgery. And so that was my biggest one. But that's where me being outside and seeing the butterflies and seeing the grass grow and seeing the transition, that whole mindset. And it was a faith run for me, actually. It was a faith run. That and again, writing my goals down. I think a lot of people, again, we just walk haphazardly. We're just in life. Get up, go to work, come home, get up, go to work. Okay, it's the weekend. And I pulled the list. I've completed everything on that list except for two things. And those things will get done this year. So I got to 20, the end of this year to get it done. But when I pulled the list out, I'm like, oh my God, I did all of that. I got all that done in 2019. So and I think our current paradigm, especially when you're growing through that, because the original game plan was the double mastectomy done. So in my mind, I'm like, great, let's just get this done and we're going to keep this thing moving. And then after the surgery, it was like, we found another spot in the surgery. So they're like, so now we need to do radiation. And it changed the whole plan because I was doing reconstruction. We found out that I was also estrogen positive. So I had to have another surgery. And so when you're going through, okay, we're here, and then all of a sudden you got another loophole, you got to look at what's going to be happening in the future.
Yeah.
And that was the thing that kept me focused. Like, all right, let's deal with it. But this is where I need to go. This is the goals. I know we got to deal with this right now, but that is not where we're going. And that kept me what's forward thinking.
And that's awesome. And like I said, you definitely have a lot to share here. So we're winding down because I want you to tell us about your one dope plan and also what you have planned. I know you got something planned as far as everything you're doing because I've been to one of your women in what is it, women empowerment?
Yeah, women in wealth. Yeah.
Women in
Women
wealth. Yeah.
empowering.
That's awesome. That's awesome. We're here in Atlanta, guys, but I don't know. Do you do it all over?
We're doing a networking event in Nashville. So now I've done it in Nashville, St. Louis, and then here in Atlanta.
Okay. Okay. Let me know when it's here in Atlanta again, because I definitely love meeting those different ladies there. So let me ask you something. Can you share any tips or advice for managing the side effects of breast cancer treatment?
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing is to work with your doctor. I always tell people get clearance from your doctor. For me, the health educator came back. So things that I've known from research, seen firsthand, a lot of it is diet and exercise because cancer loves sugar, cancer loves estrogen. And that's why with our nonprofit, our focus is now going to be more on number one, supporting women with our hero box. So we have our Pink Pearl Hero Box that also supports women in business. So we're supporting women entrepreneurs and then women and men who are actively going through breast cancer. But also now we're looking at the component of post-cancer care because it dawned on me as I'm growing through that part of my journey is when I was in the midst of cancer, you could not put sugar around me. It was black coffee, no sugars, don't put a sprinkle of nothing on because I was just so paranoid about the cancer feeding off of the sugar. But then after everything was done, I started adding sugar back. But one of the things that we know is my body can have cancer. So now I got to turn it into a fighting machine. Post-cancer care, still diet. So if you can get a nutritionist. And so these are the things that the nonprofit is looking at is diet, exercise, mindset, and other therapies. Like my girlfriend, Tammy, owns Wellness Oasis here in Woodstock, Georgia. So I do the hyperbaric chamber because cancer does not grow in oxygenated environments. So it's like looking at those things. But the problem is a lot of people don't have access to those resources because it costs and insurance doesn't cover it.
Yeah. I'm glad you
So just
mentioned that
those things.
because
Mhm.
I actually wanted a gift certificate from Tammy, and I still have to
Oh, you
use
need
it
to
for
go.
salt treatment. And I said, oh God, I still have to go and do that. But that's good. But I'm glad you said that because, and you said everything that I was going to ask you any about, such as diet, exercise, and even meditation. That's
Yes.
beneficial during your treatment. And when you say sugar, I'm not. That's one of the problems I got to give up. I love my sweets and stuff. Last question, then we're going to get into your one dope and then your nonprofit.
Yes.
What advice do you have for those who have completed their treatment and are transitioning back to everyday life?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing for me, once that happened, and I talked to a couple other my pink sisters about it, it was because you're in that moment of treatments and surgeries and healing and all that. And when it's done, it's, oh, now what do I do? And I went through that phase like, okay, so now what? Because
Yeah.
now I'm not doing that anymore. So now what I do? But I think it just goes back to that alignment of goals and say, okay, so now what do you want to do?
Mhm.
Because now you're not juggling two pieces. Now you could just be totally focused. What are some of the dreams and aspirations that you have that you want to get done and put the plan in place and
Mhm.
not fall back and go back to your old you. Like and I know people, I think it takes people a while to realize that, okay, I grew through this, or this was just part of my journey and there's a reason. So let's figure this thing out. And if you haven't figured it out by time you're done, here's a great opportunity to say, I got a new lease on life.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
now what do I want to do with it?
Yeah.
What
That
is
is
my real purpose?
that is so true. And that is a great way to put it as far as getting now. What do you do now? You start taking care of yourself. You talk about self-care, right? Because a lot of times during that time, we're trying to take it, but also your family is a big part of going through this with you. You got to have the support of your family. Now, you made some great points, and I wish we could just stay longer. So let's talk about your one dope planner, and then let's talk about your
Pink Pearl Hero, the
Pink
nonprofit.
Pearl Hero. And then let's talk about Pink Pearl Hero. So talk about your one dope planner.
Yeah. So I've always had an iPad, and my friends who know me from the corporate sector, and now they know that I am the planner. I'm always organized. I've always had Levingers or Franklins. And my surgeon, my plastic surgeon who did all the reconstruction, when he saw my bag, he said, all that got to go. And I'm like, so how am I still going to do business and run a business if I don't have my planners? But all that got to go because I couldn't carry anything over 12 pounds.
Yeah.
So again, divine timing. I'm looking at something. This is like right after my surgeries. I'm looking at this digital planner and I'm like, that's interesting. I've always had an iPad, but I've never seen this before. And
Mhm.
I'm a pretty techie person. I just don't tell people I'm a techie person because then they have me doing stuff. But now everybody knows. But so that was part of my therapy too. I self-taught how to make these planners because I saw them and I'm like, I would never use it like that.
Mhm.
And then I just self-taught myself. But again, it's things coming back full circle because when I was a health educator, I actually created databases for one of the clinics that I worked at because I'm like, this is archaic because it was like an index type system. And
Yeah.
I learned how to create databases. That is
Mhm.
not my background,
Mhm.
but that part of my life was planted for this part. So
Oh, yeah.
the one dope planner, if you could just visualize paper meeting digital, because everybody has their phones, right? Some people still like to write because and there's science behind people who write,
Mhm.
but nobody wants to carry 5 million notebooks and their planners. So the digital planner is the marriage where you have a PDF writing app so you can use like Good Notes or Noteshell. But the One Dope Planner has 12 months. It's all hyperlinked. It's tactile, so you can write on it with your stylus. And then it has 7 5 subject notebooks. And you can label each subject. So we pre-labeled 2 of them about finance and goals, so people can have that part. And I don't need anything. Literally, this right here. This is all I need.
Okay.
And then it syncs to my phone. So if I can't pull out my iPad fast, all my notes are right here too.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty dope. Literally, I
Yeah,
think
and
I
I
was doing like fourth revision. before like the launch. And it was, again, my divine time is between 3 and 4 in the morning. And I'm looking at this. I'm like, man, that's pretty dope. One dope planner. And literally that's how we came up with the name.
I love the title. So how do people get that one dope planner? How can they get that?
Yeah, right now we're just through social media. There's links in there to purchase One Dope Planner. So I've partnered with my best friend from, oh shoot, we've been friends for a little while. We've been friends for over 20 years. But my best friend Allison, so I partner with her, and then my daughter is also a partner. You could go on our social media, One Dope Planner, on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube and TikTok. So they're on all of those formats.
Okay. I was gonna ask you, how do they get in touch with you as far as what's your social media and what's your
Yeah, so the best way to get in touch with me is really through Pink Pearl Hero, and we're on Instagram and on Facebook. I have my personal pages, so they're like Tammy Lewis. I think that's on my Instagram page. That's probably actually the best one. Facebook, I look at it, but on Instagram, it's Tammy Lewis. But for the Pink Pearl Hero, the nonprofit, and for One Dope Planner, we check those as well.
Well, you're gonna send that to me, and that's gonna be in the show notes, so people can get in touch with her that way. Okay. Yeah, so they can get. So tell us real quick about your Pink Pearl Hero nonprofit.
Yeah. So we started a nonprofit, and what happened, again, it was during my divine time in St. Louis. It was like between 3 and 4. And what I saw was I was researching all the surgeries because I had what's called a latissimus dorsi reconstruction, where they take your lat muscles and move them to the front, and then they put the implant in for the reconstructive part. And I was up that night, that morning, and I would see the rates of breast cancer, the mortality rates in breast cancer for women of color were so high. And I'm like, why is nobody talking about this? And literally, the Holy Spirit said, you were a health educator, and your first grant was the breast and cervical cancer grant. Why don't you talk about it? And I was like, okay. And so still during that time, I was running before the surgery, keep my mind together and all that. And I was in St. Louis, and I'm running down this major street called Forest Park. And out of nowhere, and it just seemed out of nowhere because people don't park where I was running. And this older couple, this lady stops me in mid-run, and she said, "Are you running with your pearls on?" And I had like a strand of pearls on still. And I said, "Yeah." She said, "That's so classy." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's me." And that's where the pearl came from.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. And then I started really looking into it more, that a pearl has to be crushed. It's over time, it's the hardening and the crushing, just like with diamonds. And the hero part came from the National Institutes of Health. There was a study called the Superwoman syndrome, but they call it like Shima. And it really looked at women of color and comorbidities because of the syndrome. And breast cancer was one of them. So it just came back to, look, I can't be your hero, whoever you are, husband, mom, family, whoever it may be, until I'm mine. I got to take care of me first. And it is okay to do that. And that's where we started Pink Pearl Hero.
I love it. So yeah, so they can get in touch, go on your pinkpearlhero.com or .org, or how do they?
So right now, as of this taping, the website is under reconstruction.
Okay.
I'm saying, look, God bless me with an intern.
Yeah.
Shout out to my sorority sister for reaching out to me. Say, hey, do you need I got somebody who needs an intern. I was like, oh my, and my intern, Amaris, is actually getting her undergrad at Xavier in public health. And I'm like, this is perfect. So I'm able to coach her and mentor her, and she's taking care of things for me. So the website is under construction, but the social media sites are still going.
They're still going. So definitely, yeah. So everyone, please get in touch with Tammy Lewis and her Pink Pearl Hero. She's doing an awesome job in spreading the news, helping you to deal with breast cancer awareness and survivor tips and all of that, but also that one dope plan. We all need to get that because we carry around so many stuff. My doctor even said, you got that pocketbook, you got to make it a little bit smaller than what you have here. So, but I want to thank you, Tammy, so much. We could have went on and on. I just love having you on here because you share so much knowledge with us here. But I want to thank you so much for being part of my Ready, Set, Collaborate podcast. And definitely make sure you get in touch with Tammy Lewis or Tamara Lewis on your social media.
It's on my Instagram, it's Tammy Lewis. That's from
Tammy.
story thing. GG is, but Tammy Lewis. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So definitely get in touch with her because she definitely could share her story. And this is going to be coming out soon before Breast Cancer Awareness Month, October 30th. But thank you so much, Tammy, for being on my podcast. Audience, listen to the next episode of Ready, Set, Collaborate with Wanda Pearson. And thank you. Thank you, Tammy, once again for being on my podcast.
Thank you, Ms. Wanda, for having me. And thank you for thinking about me.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of Ready, Set, Collaborate. For more information about the host, head to wdpearsonassociates.com, and that's Pearson. Want to connect? Send an email to wanda@wdpearsonassociates.com. And as always, stay tuned for the next episode of Ready, Set, Collaborate.